Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we're looking at the MLB slate for Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. We have a big baseball slate tonight. 14 games. Have some nice tournaments on both sides. I wanted to get a video out for this one. Let's go ahead and get right into it. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Follow on Twitter for updates at the DFS process, and let's get started. So on this slate, looking at the projected lineups and the totals here, we have a couple of stud pitching options on the slate. We have Garrett Cole facing off against the Tigers here at home with the winds blowing out, but they still only have a 2.6 total. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup. I expect Garrett Cole to be able to cruise right through that lineup up and down. Then you also have Shane Bieber. His matchup is a little bit tougher. He's facing off against the White Sox. They still have a low total. Bieber still gives you a ton of strikeout upside, and there are Ks in this lineup as well. There is some power, but there's also a lot of strikeouts, so I don't think you can go wrong with either Bieber or Cole. Seems like Garrett Cole is going to be more popular, so if you want to be different in tournaments, you can go to Shane Bieber. I do prefer Cole a little bit more, just based on the matchup, and he is a little bit cheaper. So you probably want to get at least one of these top two studs in your lineup. You can also go down to like a Darvish for a contrarian play, but I don't want to pay 88 for John Means against Oakland. I don't want to pay 87 against the Dodgers for Peralta. And then McCullers looks okay as an SP2, but I would probably like to pay up a bit as an SP1, and that would be for Garrett Cole. For SP2 today, I think there's a lot of different options here. Looking at the bottom range, you have Andrew Heaney at only $6,800 facing off against Seattle. The Mariners have about under a 4-run total, 3.6 total. Heaney gives you strikeout upside. The matchup here is fine here against Seattle. I expect him to be able to go like 6-7 innings, get some strikeouts. He is able to go over 100 pitches, which is nice to see. And he's just too cheap. And he's had a couple of, he's had one really bad start. He's been fine other than that on opening day. And looking at him, a lefty against this Seattle team, they do have a lot of righties in this lineup, but I do think he'll be fine. I mean, especially if Mitch Haniger's not in the lineup. So I think Heaney is right now the way I want to go with my SP2. You can also go to like maybe you see other guys that look good down here. You have maybe you can go to a Flexen on the other side, but I prefer Heaney. Singer is only $7,000. Matchup is tough, but the Twins have been struggling a little bit. I think it makes sense as a tournament play just because he gives you a lot of strikeouts, and he's only $7,000. So Heaney, Singer, Fiers making his debut. Could be limited a bit, so I will not be that interested in him when I have Heaney, who's cheaper. And then I don't want to go anybody else who's then Heaney as terms of a value pitcher. I think Heaney, Singer makes sense as cheap SP2 options. Besides, in the 7 and 8K range, you can go to like a Pablo Lopez, maybe a Bumgarner after his no-hitter in 7 innings. And then you have in the 8K range, you have McCullers, $8,500. But I love the Cole and Heaney pairing. Gives you a lot of upside. Both are in pretty good spots. And then in terms of offense, on a 14-gamer, you definitely can just focus on stacking a couple of teams, because more likely than not, a couple of these teams are going to go off for like 7, 8, maybe 10-plus runs. And my favorites to target today are the Blue Jays facing off against Drew Smyly. Smyly's been awful so far this season. A lefty in this ballpark facing off against all these powerful righty bats. He's already given up 6 home runs on the season. In just 15 innings, I'm expecting the Blue Jays to be able to add to that total. So I do love the Blue Jays stack here, especially Springer now that he's back in the lineup. He hits lefties really well. Springer, Bichette, Vlad, even Grichuk. The top 5 look like great stack. You can throw in Simeon to be a little bit different. And then you have a $2,000 catcher who looks like one of the best catcher value plays. I know he's 0 for 30, but he's not been this bad of a hitter in years past. And get the flat minimum for one of the best stacks on the slate. I think you got to consider Jansen. And then the Yankees also look super appealing. They got their offense going a bit against the Orioles last series, and now they're facing off against Screwball lefty with 19-mile-per-hour winds blowing out. The ball should carry. You still got some nice cheap hitters in here with Urshela, Hicks, Frazier. You got power with Stanton, Judge, even Torres looking a little bit better recently. So the Yankees and Blue Jays are my top 2 stacks of the slate. The Mets look like a nice contrarian stack. Anderson has not been good. You can go to Brennan Nimmo, Conforto, and even throw in Alonso as some of my favorite hitters to target on the Mets side. And then the final stack is the Red Sox, potentially, if that game goes. It's looks to be fine. I mean, some chance of rain, but Red Sox look okay. And then the last stack, I would say, would be the Padres against Logan Webb, just because they have so much pop in that lineup, and they could get overlooked, especially with everybody going to the Yankees. But I will stick with the Yankees and Blue Jay. I just love those two teams today. Looking at first base, can't go wrong with like Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's 57. He's very expensive, but he's been having an incredible season. Had 3 home runs the other day against Washington. You can pull up his splits. They look good against both sides of the plate. Especially Smiley's been garbage against right-handed bats. Even lefties he's been bad, but his xFIP is super bad against righties. I like getting to Guerrero at 57. If you wanted to save some money, you can go down to a $4,000 range. You have Eric Hosmer at $4,400 against Logan Webb. That lineup looks very good today. And then on the Yankees side, I don't know who they'll start at first base. Let's see if they could start LeMahieu. Ford is a lefty-lefty matchup, so he's not the best. I don't even think he'll be in the lineup today. Could go LeMahieu or Guerrero. My top 2 options at first base. At second base, you can go to LeMahieu if you want. You can go to Albies. I like the Braves a bit as well. Robbie Ray has been better so far this season, but he still gives up walks. He still gets doesn't go very deep into games just because he struggles with his pitch count at times, and he gives up some pop as well. So Albies very good against lefties. I think he looks like a great second base option. And then you can go all the way down here for maybe like a Jonathan India against Jake Arrieta at only $3,800. And then if you needed to go even cheaper than that, you can potentially look to see if any of these guys start at the top of the order. I know Nico Horner's been playing a little bit better. He could be in consideration if he's batting, like the top 7, top 6 in that batting order. And then on the Toronto side, you have Simeon, $5,300, pretty expensive, but still in play. And then you have LeMahieu if you wanted to use the second base spot on him. Third base, I love Gio Urshela. He's just always been, he's just a little bit too cheap, I think, right now. You have Austin Riley's been hitting the ball well. It could be a nice option, even though bats near the bottom of the order. Lefty, Kevin Biggio will be overlooked today, but he's only $4,000, so he's some contrarian play you can put in just because people won't play him lefty. But anytime you get a team with potential to go for 7, 8, 9 runs today, if that pitcher doesn't last long, you should face a lot of righties out of the bullpen. And who's to say he can't hit a home run off of a reliever? But Urshela is just a little bit too cheap, $3,600. I like him a lot. He's been hitting the ball well. Got a couple of multi-hits in his recent games. He hits for pop. Great spot with the wind blowing out here against a lefty. He's my favorite third base option. At shortstop, Bichette is the most expensive, or second most expensive guy. He's my favorite pay-up option. I would go Bichette, then Tatis. And then I don't really want to go to anybody else above $5,000. In the 4K range, you have Gleyber Torres at $4,200. He still hasn't hit a home run yet, but at least he's starting to make some good contact. Had a couple of multiple hits. Had 5 hits in that series against the Orioles. Starting to look a little bit better at the plate. He's just really affordable still, so I don't mind getting to Torres as part of your Yankee stacks. He would be in the mix. You have Swanson, only $3,700. Also looks pretty good if you wanted to stack up some Braves or go with some one-offs on the Braves side. And then in the outfield, the favorite top pay-up option is going to be Giancarlo Stanton whenever he faces off against a lefty. It's just pretty much a given that I will have consideration unless it's like a Chris Sale that he's facing off of. But Skubal, not that scary of a pitcher. He gives up hits, gives up pop. Stanton's been looking very good at the plate recently. Got his average up to 250 with 9 hits in that series against the Orioles. The wind blowing out here at home should be a spot where Stanton is able to do some damage. So we got to really like him at $5,200. And then a cheap hitter that I do like on the Blue Jay side is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He's only $3,400. Should be batting 6th in the lineup today, maybe 5th against a lefty. Looking at his splits, very good against lefties for his career. He's batting .291 against them compared to .274 against righties. The ISO a lot higher, .257 ISO. Strikeouts are a little bit higher, but you really like to see the average and the ISO numbers there. And the hard hit percentage for him against lefties, about 37%. Fly ball rate is almost 40%. So Gurriel had a home run the other game against the Nationals. Starting to look a little bit better at the plate, hopefully, because he's gotten off to a tough start, but he has a lot more talent than he's shown. And I expect him to kind of get back on track here against a bad lefty. So these are the 6 plays I like right now on DraftKings. Let's jump over to FanDuel. Okay, over on FanDuel, you have Cole and Bieber both at $12,000 above. Bieber sitting at 12K, Cole at 12.2. I like, don't mind getting to either one of those. I would prefer Garrett Cole, but I think you can also go cheap if you wanted to and just pay up for some expensive bats here. The Yankees stack. If you wanted to get to a expensive Yankees Blue Jays stack, you can go down to a pretty affordable pitcher, and that is still Andrew Heaney, sitting at $8,700, I believe. $8,700. He still gives you 50-point upside. He's topped 50 in 2 of his 4 starts, and 2 out of his last 3 starts. Even though he's only gone 6 innings in both of those, as long as he's doesn't get into like trouble with the walks and stuff, I think he can be able to have success in this matchup. If we get 50 out of him at $8,700 again, or even 55, and Cole goes for like 60, 65, I still think you might be better off just saving a little bit of money and getting up to some like expensive bats. Catcher first base, going cheap with Heaney allows me to get up to Vlad Guerrero. I just love him today. He gives you so much upside. He's been hitting the ball super well this season, especially against Smiley, a bad lefty in this ballpark. With them playing in like a spring training facility, expect Guerrero and that offense to do some damage today. So I got to go with him at $4,000. Second base position where you can go down to a Gleyber Torres, who is, the Yankees are cheap on FanDuel, especially Torres and especially Urshela. He's $2,400. Even LeMahieu's super cheap on FanDuel, so don't mind getting to him. Third base, you can play Guerrero at third base if you wanted to, but I like Gio Urshela. He's just so cheap. You can go to LeMahieu batting leadoff if you wanted to, but you got Urshela at only $2,800. Gives you pop as well, batting like 4th or 5th in the lineups today. He looks like a great option if you wanted to go to LeMahieu. Don't mind that. You can even go down to like Biggio, who's only $2,700. He gives you upside and potentially low ownership given lefty-lefty. Then you have Riley with pop at the bottom of the order here. And he's very affordable. Jonathan India, $2,600, contrarian play. So plenty of options at third base. Shortstop, Bichette, pay-up option looks great, $3,700. Can even go down to Torres. You can play him at shortstop if you wanted to. He's only $2,400, so don't know why he's so cheap. Yeah, $2,400 for Torres. Just way too cheap. Those would be the 2 that I'm kind of considering. And then in the outfield, basically the same guys I liked on DraftKings. It's Giancarlo Stanton at only $3,700. He is, way too cheap, I would say, given the matchup, given the fact that he's hitting the ball well right now, and the pitcher that he's facing could be one of those days where he hits 2 bombs. Hasn't happened yet this year. Wouldn't be shocked if that happens tonight. And then I do like Gurriel here, but we're going cheap with our pitcher. So we'll be able to spend up a little bit for like a George Springer batting leadoff back against a lefty. And it's still easy with $3,000 left. So Springer, Stanton as your pay-up bats on FanDuel look very, very good. And that's about it for this baseball video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys got some useful information out of it. Yankees, Blue Jays, top 2 stacks of the slate going Heaney and Cole as my pitchers. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the basketball video. I'll get that out sometime soon. And best of luck tonight.